So I have a problem here where eventually, yes, you can darn, but eventually the soles of socks get really thin and disintegrate. So yes, I can continue darning. However, I had a different thought as well. The only part which really ever goes is the toe and the heel, or the sole of the sock. And it's not 100% that both will go. So that actually means that there's quite a lot of fabric, knit fabric, in this. And I'm wondering, after watching a video from So It's Like a Man, where he recycled t-shirts into underwear, I'm wondering what the possibility of using this fabric as athletic support for men and women. It's quite stretchy, it's very breathable, but if you imagine that is your pouch for either your tackle or your bust, I'm wondering if it might work. If it's done attractively, it might not be as gross as it sounds, but I'm going to try and see what happens. Now I have a couple t-shirts here that the cotton is, majority of it is good. However, it's worn out under the arms, and I've repaired this lots of time, but that's where it's gone, and you can see it's gone there. So I'm thinking, well, that could actually work. If you imagine the inset in the front of the pouch, or even if you make just an athletic support, you could use that and it might work. So I'm going to try it out. So here we have the pattern piece, and what you can see is a sock. Fits pretty much perfectly before it's sliced open. So if we actually slice the sock, and I'd recommend probably doing it, it's hard to decide where it'd be more useful, probably down the middle of the back, that way the heel will not be impacted. There we go. And what you can see now is we have a very good sized piece. It's a bit of a bend here in the toe, but that's okay. Just give it a little snip so it lies a little flatter. Now based on this, it will fit perfectly, and we don't even need to worry about the band at the top. So that's, if you imagine, that's pretty good. So I think that's going to work perfectly. So I'm going to work on that, and we need two, which is perfect because we have two socks. So I will continue on with this and cut out the pattern piece, and let's see where we land. So here we have the shirt that I'm converting, and the one issue we've got is it's cut on the fold, so I'm going to have to add a seam there to manage the fold. But pinning is fairly easy, so I'm just going to do a little snip here so that I can see where it lines up on the remaining fabric. So I've got the top here, and I'm not convinced there's going to be enough room. Well, possible. Actually, it looks like there's just enough. Goes into the sleeve a bit. So it might be possible. Bit of very clever placing. Actually, if I do a little snip, I think with a little bit of adjustment we can make this fit and get one per, so that's pretty impressive. So I shall keep working away and we'll see where we land. So here I am working on my machine. I'm on my vintage sewing machine tray here, but as you can see I've got my two contemporary machines. Been mucking around with the settings and I have managed to get this machine to sew perfectly finely. It is not easy. This is not a machine for the faint of heart. However, once it's set up right, it's good. So the first issue I found was this was cramped down way too tight, so it was bunching up the fabric, which is why it was always very difficult to stitch. And then all these settings on the side. So I've got it set to the longest stitch length. And then you can adjust this top part for the density of the stitch as well. I've found it's best around there, and it gives a good stitch like that. Might need to be slightly more or slightly narrower, closer together, more like this for the project I'm doing, but at least it's fun to play. Anyway, okay, so here we are. I'm only doing a single layer on these. I think it's quite thick enough because they're socks. But anyway, so we need to do right sides together. So let's flip this around. Then do a little quick pin just to make sure all the edges and stuff line up. Okay, and then off we go. So I don't really need to have the blade engaged, so I'll just skim the edge of this. So that's pretty good. See how the pouch would look. And actually it's thick enough that it's not going to be rude at all. You could double line, but I don't think it's worth it. Will that be uncomfortable? Not convinced it will be uncomfortable per se. It would be worth, I think, cover stitching that down, or stitching that down maybe on the sewing machine. If I'm not going to put an extra, I think if I'm not going to put an extra lining in because I just don't need it, I think what I'll do is just cover stitch it down flat. So change machines here. And off we go. So let's move the camera. Okay, so off we go again. what we'll do is we'll make sure the seam is lying on the same direction by dragging it under the foot that way. Now, all being well, okay, that fed. Good, that's feeding a bit better. Oops. Hopefully I can get this to cooperate this time. Seam is turned to the right. Seam is to the right. That's quite entertaining to me. For all the years I said, don't pull on your fabric. Seems like the only way to get this kind of stretchy fabric to feed properly when it's thick is to help it along a bit. You don't have to pull much, but definitely have to tug it a bit. This definitely won't go without tugging very well. To the end, so as usual we have to get under here and pull those out. Rip, tug. There we go. So those are all locked down now, which is great, so that won't feel too unpleasant. And it's got the appropriate curve as well. So, we shall see how we get on. The next excitement is to stitch the side panels together. Okay, so off we go. Overlock them first. And then we'll cover stitch them after. Whoop! Wrong machine. So that looks nice. Sand it together. Hopefully it won't make my hips look too huge. Okay, I might just do the other side while we're on this, rather than cover stitching the middle first. Yes, I think we'll do that just for fun. Okay. is done. That's how they look. Oops, this direction is the correct direction. Got that. And then of course we can attach this bit to the front. Find the little point, there it is. So on this pattern from Sew It Like a Man, you've got good indications of where you line everything up, so it makes it relatively easy to do. Okay. And then down into the bottom. The nice thing I like about this pattern is it's got proper easy crotch shape. Some of them are really awkward to get in here. So we'll do this side first. I can see you all going, pins and overlockers, but it's okay, and we'll remember to take them all out. As long as it doesn't get anywhere near the knife blade and the needles, we're okay. Getting into the fun curve bit. So make sure your curves are good. Last pin. Good, okay, so that's nice and secure now. So it looks a bit of fun, doesn't it? Okay. Now for the other side. Okay, find the little point, there it is. Point on there. There we are, so that's where we landed thus far, which looks kind of fun. Different looking, might look hideous, but I think we'll be okay in the end. My eye for these things is usually reasonably good. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's do the back seam. Back seam done. Okay. Crotch seam time. Okay. So this needs to be laid down on itself so that the center of this meets like this. So we will just do a little emergency pin here, end to end. Okay. And we will line up the center seams. Make sure they're going opposite directions because that will just make it a little nicer. Okay. And there we go. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so it's just a matter of a few finishing touches in the elastic. They're starting to look like something wearable now, kind of funky. A little different. This may be a little unflattering given my large size, but I couldn't decide if a dark patch or a light patch would be more fun. Black, black, black might have been kind of fun, but I think black and white is also fun. Okay, so the only thing left is the finishing touches, which I will do tomorrow night. I'm still half tempted to go around the top here just to even it up, but I will see what the instructions say as far as cleaning, tidying up the elastic, because I'm not all that excited about that rough edge around the top. Anyway, I shall be back with you soon. So I'm hemming these on the cover stitch machine. Still find there's a need to stretch the fabric to get the stitches to be good. Now perhaps if I weren't using overlock thread but using the Seriflock or some sort of stretchy, elasticy thread in all of the needles as well as the looper. So I've just got the Seriflock in the looper. But anyway, it's mostly working. It's still an adventure and not breaking any threads and stuff, but hopefully I will get through this without any mishaps. definitely an art to holding the fabric appropriately taut without overdoing it. Coming around to the beginning now. Snip these threads, snip that one, and we'll cross over a bit. Okay, done. So I see one mishap, but that's not bad. I'm getting the hang of this machine. So right around this stitch here, I can see, yeah, it's a bit loose there, so I'll have to go over that bit just right there again. It's not good enough. Fortunately, these are for me and not for anyone else. Right, needles up, pull the threads. So, just need to do this bit here. Again, it's very, very difficult to line up the needles with what was gone before, but we're just going to have to do our best here. Do. Perfect. Okay, so not too shabby. A few threads to tidy up, but that should do the job quite nicely. So, if you're wondering what these look like now, lay them out. So you can see if we can, there you go. So not bad. Certainly not super great. I could have potentially used white thread, which might be less, but you know, why not set myself up with a challenge? It's more fun that way. Okay, so on to the elastic. I've done that for already the other leg, so I've got both done. It's quite good. Nice and stretchy. Let me zoom back out so you can see, you know, they're reasonably stretchy. I haven't put an elastic in, it didn't say to do that, but that would have been a possibility as well. I have overlocked all the edges. So you can see here's the waistband, which is overlocked. And inside, the edges were overlocked before I did the cover stitch, so the inside looks like that. Which is nice. So potentially you could cover stitch the front as well. But not worried about that. I think we'll do a reasonable job. So on to the elastic. Okay, so here we are putting the elastic on. I've chosen to use my cover stitch machine. The instructions say you can use a zigzag, which is a slightly different technique in this case. So the idea is with the zigzag, it looks the same on both sides. This is a little more complicated, as you can imagine. So what I'm doing is I'm cover stitching it with the fuzzy side, or the very chain stitch side on the front first. And then I'll go over it again. So it looks, which I might not need to, it looks like that on the front, which is actually might be able to get away with, although it's not perfect. Probably can't see the black on black, but it's there. It's pretty good. A few imperfections, but I'll go over it again. And it's quite complicated doing this because you have to stretch the elastic and hold it and make sure it's all. So I've used tape here to try and keep the elastic even, and then I'm using the foot width to guide where the stitches are. So between that I can get a reasonable stitch going, but you still have to pull the fabric taut to make sure it stitches properly, otherwise it won't stitch and you get those missed stitches. There's a little bit of an art of sewing for sure here. Oops, just dumped a pin. Doable, but certainly not easy. Okay. Take up that pin. Pick the pin up off the floor before I step on it. This probably would be a lot easier on a sewing machine, I have to admit. But it will work, because I am determined. There's no point in having a cover stitch machine if I can't use it for stuff like this. As you can see, I like to put the needles down just to hold the fabric while I'm stretching and pulling and preparing for the next set. So it just makes it a bit easier. So otherwise it will slide out from under the foot. This does require some exciting dexterity for sure. Okay, there we go. Oh good, the end is in sight. Seam pointing in the correct direction. And down to the last section. Okay, should be fun. Final bit. Okay, see if we can get this lined up a little bit straighter. come around to the beginning again. Just cut these threads on top. Actually, oops, there are a few moments of mess. Definitely an art to how to pull this so it gives a good stitch to the elastic. Not so easy. However, I will go over it again. This time it will be a little easier. The whole way the second time. That looks a little better this time. Okay, so let's see how the results are. Okay, so there's the final result. Not too bad, I do say myself. I think they look okay. Still not thrilled. I've got room for improvement on my, see if that shows up a little better here. Not the most perfect results on the cover stitching, but you know, acceptable. I can live with it.